and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a Hongdian, this is the M2. We have an Asvine P80. We have a Parker Duofold Prestige, and this is the Burgundy Chevron. We have a Parker Duofold, and this is the Ruthenium. We have a Parker Duofold, and this is a Centennial, and this is the Godron in gold. We have another Parker Duofold Centennial Godron in silver. We have an Onoto, and this is the University of Oxford. We have an Onoto, and this is the Charles Dickens, and this is a David Copperfield. We have a Jinhao 1919, and we have another Asvine V126. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is the Hongdian, and this is the M2. Now, this was a pen that was gifted to me, bought from Dr. Joe Vitolo, and you can see here it does say Hongdian M2 there on the body. Now this is very much of, I want to say, a copy of a Kaweco. It is a very small pocket pen which you unscrew, and you can see here it has, I want to say, a number 3 nib. It's not a, I don't think it's a number 5. It is very, very small. It is a steel nib, and I got this in a medium nib. I didn't know this was arriving, actually. It just arrived out of the blue. Joe has my address, so he can send me stuff if he wishes. But if you post the cap here, it actually posts quite nicely. It's a nice sort of anodized finish here. The clip itself, you can push the end here and it will sort of move around. You've got a cap finial there. I do find it a little bit on the thin side though for me. I do like more chunkier pens, but if I hold it up a little bit around sort of more the threads or the body area there, it feels a little bit more comfortable for me. But this was a bit of a surprise. He sent this to a bunch of us on the same Zoom hangout that we do. And I thank Joe for this because I have always wanted a Kaweco or Kaweco Sport. I have never pulled the plug on it and never bought one. But this is very, very similar to that. So probably still won't pull the plug on a Kaweco Sport. There's only one that I really like the look of. I like maybe the weight of the brass or the copper ones, but I would prefer I think it's called the AC Sport, which is the racing green with carbon fiber. That's really the only one on the Kaweco lineup that really speaks to me. So maybe I will buy it at some point, but I've just never really felt the need to pull the plug on it. The next pen here is again another pen actually that Joe actually shipped me. It's an Asvine, and it's a P80 piston filling pen. Now I've got the other Asvine, the flat top models, but not the cigar shape. This is quite a nice look. It's quite heavy as well. I do like the overlay on this. It's very beautiful, and I like that sort of blue translucent style of sort of resin there. If I unscrew the cap, you'll see there's a number 6 size Asvine medium nib. It is a piston filling pen, so it holds about 1 milliliter of ink. You can post the cap, but it's very back weighted. It's not something I would want to do. You do have threads. It does have a metal section, but I don't find that metal section slippery in any way. It's actually quite a nice weight of pen, and I have to say I am really liking writing with this. So I don't know. I'm not into the cheaper Chinese pens per se, but I do think that they are getting better and better, and I have to say, I think the nib quality on the nibs are a little bit still sort of hit and miss, but I did have to tune both of these nibs slightly just to make them a little bit more smoother and a little bit more wetter, because the tines are very tight on both of these, and that typically is what I find on Chinese made pens. The next pen here is a Parker Duofold. It's a Centennial size. It's a Prestige. It's a Burgundy Chevron. Now, some sellers online list this as the Ruthenium. It's not. Yes, it has Ruthenium trim on it, but it's not the Ruthenium. It's the Burgundy Chevron. I do like this a lot. I've been wanting one for, I want to say, a couple of years now, but they've always been on the higher side of what I wanted to pay. I actually saw this one on eBay recently, and it was for the price that I actually wanted to pay. So I decided I would buy it, and it arrived the next day from a UK seller. If I unscrew the cap here, you've got a number 6 size nib here, but you'll see it says X on the feed. Now, if you know Parker, there you go, there's the nib. If you know Parker, an X means extra fine. And if you know me, I do not do extra fine nibs. But this was one of those cases where I could get this pen for the right price. I thought I could probably buy a replacement nib and swap it out. Or even a nib with section. However, this nib writes more like a Western fine, and I have to say I'm actually loving it. So I don't think I will be swapping this nib over. It is a cartridge converter pen. You can post that cap. Again, it's very back weighted, so it's not something I would want to do. The majority of the weight is in the pen, not the cap, but it just makes that pen a little bit more back weighted. But you can see it's actually a decent size in my hand there. You've got the Parker style feather clip there as well. Now, the next pen is a pen I've been lusting after for about a year. I think it's about a year. It might be a bit less, but this is, I never knew this existed. It's a Parker Duofold, and it is the Ruthenium. It's a Centennial size pen. These you cannot find for love or money. That said, I did find one. You can find them online. You can find them on eBay, but they're all in Japan, and they want around about £1,100 for them, which I was definitely not going to pay for essentially what is a Parker Prestige. So, again, I was lucky. The same seller that had the Burgundy had this one for sale, and he had it for sale for $600. And I decided I would jump at it because I really have wanted this pen for quite some time. Now, you could probably see there, it's got a fine nib on this one, not a medium, but the fine nib writes a little bit more like a medium to me. And you can post a cap, but again, it's very back weighted, so I don't think it's a pen that I would post the cap on. It's a beautiful pen, cartridge converter, and I have to say I am extremely glad that I added it to my collection. Now, with these two, I also have the blue Chevron, the Prestige, and I also have the black Chevron. So I think I now have the complete set of the Prestige Chevrons. Unless there's another one, another colour that I maybe have missed out at some point. If anybody knows of another colour, let me know. But I've got the black, I've got the burgundy, I've got the blue, and I've now got the Ruthenium as well. The next pen here inked up is the Parker Duofold Centennial Godron, and this is in the gold. Beautiful material. This sort of fluting that's going on here. You've got the Parker logo there as well, and you could just see you got the Parker clip, you got the feather clip. It really is just a beautiful pen. It really just shines. You can see that there on camera. If I unscrew the cap, I have another Parker number 6 size nib there, and that one is a fine nib. Now, I didn't really want it in a fine, but that's all I could get it for. There were a number of these selling, but the prices are all over the place. This is a cartridge converter pen, and let me just show you. You can post the cap as well. Not as back weighted as the other pens, but slightly back weighted. But as I was saying, that the price for this pen was all over the place, and I think people are trying to, on a lot of pens, certainly on eBay, they are trying to sell pens for a lot higher than they're really worth. And I wasn't prepared to pay that amount of price, so the one that I did find was a really good price, and I decided that I would buy it, but it was a fine nib. But I am still liking writing with that nib. I'm getting more towards finer nibs now. The next pen here, again, is another Parker Duofold Centennial, and this is the Godron, and this is in the silver. And I also wanted this one as well. Really, really nice pen. I do like these Godrons, and these are the Centennial, not the International. And again, you've got a larger number 6 size nib there, and that one is a medium nib, so I was glad of that. And then you can post the cap. Now, strangely enough, the medium writes a little bit more like a fine, and the fine writes a little bit more like a medium. But this is typical of Parker and typical of Bock in a lot of cases as well. Two different nib manufacturers, but their nib widths are not always identical, and some people dislike Bock for that, and also Parker, purely because a medium isn't always a medium. But for me, it doesn't bother me that much. Yes, if I was ordering a medium, I really would want a medium. But sometimes you just have to go with what you get or what you receive. The next pen here is a new pen. Again, another new pen I bought. This is the Onoto University of Oxford. This is a beautiful pen. I wanted this or the Shakespeare. The Shakespeare was long sold out. Maybe I might find a Shakespeare in this same sort of golden diffusion bonded acrylic. This is a blue stripe here. The Shakespeare is a black one. And I think I would like the black more. But that blue is so dark, it's almost black. You've got the Onoto clip there. And obviously you've got the cap finial there as well. And if I unscrew this, you'll see a number 7 18 karat gold medium nib with the ABS plastic feed. It is a cartridge converter. You can post the cap, and that's actually fairly comfortable like that. It's not really that much back weighted. So for me, that is actually quite a good weight in pen. I am liking the Onotos a lot more recently, and I have been growing the Onoto collection. And I picked this one up, which was in around Christmas 23, and this is the Onoto Charles Dickens, and this is the David Copperfield. And you've got the Onoto cap finial there, you've got the silver clip as well, and again, you've got this diffusion bonded sort of pearlescent silver or grey acrylic there with black stripes. And if I unscrew the cap, you'll see a number 7 size 18 karat gold, and that's a medium nib again with an ABS plastic feed, cartridge converter. Again, you can post that cap, and it's I'd say this one feels a little bit more back weighted maybe than the other one. I think it's because the body is back weighted as well. And that's probably what's making it feel more back weighted. And then we've got a couple more cheaper pens. So we've got a Jinhao 1919, which essentially is the size of a Mont Blanc 149. Very, very large size here. I really do like this demonstrator. I never thought I would like to see cartridge converters through a demonstrator body, but the gold actually, or gold colour, actually makes it look quite nice. This has a number 8 size Jinhao nib, and that's a medium nib. It's a massive pen. You can post the cap if you want. I'm not sure that you would want to. It makes it look massive. Makes it look like a football, but it really, it's a nice pen, and I have to take my hat off to Jinhao. They are making some pretty good pens lately. Well, even Hongdian and Asvine. But Jinhao, the 1919, like the X159, which is the non-translucent, so it's the opaque body with a number 8 size nib, I actually liked a lot. But these 1919s I like even more. They are really, really good quality writing pens and nibs. And then the last pen here is an Asvine, and this is a V126. It's a piston filling pen. It's a little bit of a frosted look to it. I really do like this. I write with this pen a lot. It's got a number 6 size nib there, and it is a medium. I think a medium nib. Yeah, a medium there. It says. You can post the cap as well if you want to. I love this frosted look to the pen. I really do. I did have issues with this nib a little bit, and I do have issues sometimes with, there you go, it's locked. I can't screw that cap on. You've got to get it on the right start of threads. So I think, yeah, it just locked again. So it's a nice pen, but the quality, being a Chinese-made pen, the quality still isn't quite there yet. And there are a few other pens I have threads that lock. One I do remember is a Delta. So I guess you can get it in other manufacturers of pens as well. But I just feel that some of the Chinese-made pens are still, quality-wise, not quite there compared to the Western pens and nibs. But there you have it. That's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So I think let's take a look at the first pen here. So I'm going to have to post this pen because look, the size in my hand is just not going to do. I'm not going to be able to write with it. So we'll do a ink swatch first. And I was just trying to rack my brain then what ink this is. Now this is a medium nib. So this is the Hongdian M2, and it's a medium and it's a steel nib. Now I would say that writes a little bit more like a fine nib to me. Now just double checking, it is a medium. The ink in here is Franklin Christoph, and I don't think I've written with this ink for some time. And it's Sweet Maroon. I still have quite a few bottles of that ink, and I do need to get through it, so that's why I thought I would ink that up. The next pen inked up is the Asvine, and this is the P80. So again, we'll do another ink swatch here. And this writes quite nice, really nice. So this is the Asvine P80. It's a piston, and it's a medium, and it's a steel nib. Now, I do find every now and again it does railroad, and I'm not pushing that pen. I do find, again, this is probably down to the Chinese quality. I do find sometimes I have to prime that piston a little bit. The ink in here is Waterman. I just primed that, and you can see that that is a lot darker now. And it is, I can't think of the name now, Inspired Blue. But yeah, you do. I do find that it has a little bit of a maybe an ink starvation issue on that piston. I don't know if this is the only P80 that I have, and this was sent to me by Joe. And that came directly from Amazon, brand new, so it hadn't been inked up before. But I do find that with that one, I do need to just prime that piston every now and again. The next pen is the Parker Duofold Prestige, and this is the Burgundy Chevron. And we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this is an extra fine that I said, and it's a very wet nib, but it does feel like an extra fine to me. So this is the Parker Duofold Prestige. Oh, it's now starting to burp a little bit. Oh yeah, it is starting to burp a little bit. Let me see if I can take off some of that excess ink. And this is the Burgundy Chevron. Now, I do find, and I'll put in here EF 18 cat gold. I do find with the Parkers, they do not have any fins to capture any excess ink. So if a lot of ink starts to come out, it's got nowhere to go except for the paper or the page. Now, this ink, I need to double check because this could be one of several inks, and I know that I've got it in my ink or pen database, so I'm just going to take a look at that just to make sure. This is Diamine Ochre. Now, it does have a bit of sharpness to that nib because it is an extra fine nib. I might need to try and round that nib off a little bit, make it a little bit less coarse. I can write with it, it's just, it wouldn't be, let's say, my favourite writing nib at this moment in time. The next pen inked up is the Parker Duofold, and this is the Ruthenium. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this is a fine nib. And I was struggling to really find an ink, a grey ink to put in this pen. So I'm pretty sure you can probably guess what ink this is. So this is the Parker Duofold. And I'm not sure, I don't think this is called the Prestige. I think it's just called the Ruthenium. And it's a fine, double check, is it a fine nib? Pretty sure it's a fine nib, I said. Yeah, it is a fine nib. But it writes more like a medium. And it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey Tea. But you can see there, it really is writing like a medium and almost onto maybe a broad nib. The next pen inked up here is the Parker Duofold Godron, Centennial Godron, and this is in the gold. So we'll do an ink swatch again. And this is quite a nice brown ink. So this is the Parker, you can actually see that's feathering there as well. Parker Duofold Godron, and it's in the gold, and it's a, double check this, fine 18 cat gold nib, and the ink in here is Ackerman SBRE brown. But that, I still love that ink. It's a nice sort of orangey, yellowy brown, warm brown, and that is an ink that I like a lot. I do like how that nib writes. It's a fine nib, not I'm not normally into fine nibs as much. It's normally medium nibs, but I do like that nib. And then the next pen inked up is the Parker Duofold Centennial Godron in silver. And this was one I really wanted to start with, but then I saw the gold ones, and that might be out of ink. Let me have a look. Oh, it is very much out of ink. So this is an ink swatch here. It's a lovely writing nib. I just want to double check that it is a medium as well. So this is the Parker Duofold. Both of these are Centennials. It's the Godron silver in a medium 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here is Diamine. And it's Earl Grey tea. Or Earl Grey. I'm calling it Earl Grey tea because I'm used to the dominant industry Earl Grey tea. And I'm just adding tea to it, even though it's just essentially called Earl Grey. So the next pen inked up is the Onoto, and this is the University of Oxford. So I think we'll look at doing an ink swatch here. Now, this nib I do find maybe a little bit more on the coarser side. I might need to smooth this nib out slightly. So this is the Onoto University of Oxford, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 cat gold nib, and the ink in here is Lamy Mango, which is a lovely coloured ink, and I think it really matches that pen colour quite nicely. The next pen is the Onoto Charles Dickens, and this is David Copperfield. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now I do find that this is a bit more of a bouncy nib. It's quite a nice writing nib as well. So this is the Onoto Charles Dickens. And it's David Copperfield. Probably going to run out of space as well. It's a medium, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here is KWZ Old Smoke, which is a UK Pen Show exclusive ink. Really glad that I got that. Old Smoke refers to London. Being very foggy, and the old smoke type of era, of the Victorian era. The next pen inked up is a Jinhao 1919. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this is a really lovely writing nib, and it's a medium nib as well. So this is a Jinhao 1919, and it's a medium, and it's a steel nib, Jinhao nib. And then the ink in here is Dominant Industry, and it's Earl Grey tea. But that is a beautiful ink, and I really love having that inked up in this pen. And then the last pen inked up is the Asvine V126. So we're doing an ink swatch here. And this is a nice punchy red. And I was just trying to rack my brains because I don't have this in my ink database. But I already know what this ink is now after seeing that colour. So this is the Asvine V126. It's a medium, and it's a steel nib. Now this nib didn't write well out of the box, and I had to tune it a lot, but it now writes perfect for me. The ink in here, another KWZ UK exclusive ink. It's KWZ, and it's Beef Eater Red. which is one of my favourite red inks. I think I have 3 or 4 bottles of that ink, but I can't get enough of it. I will probably at the next London Pen Show in autumn probably buy another bottle of that and another bottle of maybe KWZ Nuki Brown if the ink is still there, because they are really nice inks and I'm really loving those inks. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have a Hongdian M2 in a medium steel nib inked up with Franklin Christoph and Sweet Maroon. We have an Asvine P80 in a medium steel nib inked up with Waterman Inspired Blue. We have a Parco Duofold Prestige Burgundy Chevron in an extra fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Ochre. We have a Parco Duofold Ruthenium in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Parker Duofold Centennial Godron in the gold in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Acumen SBRE Brown. We have a Parker Duofold Centennial Godron in a silver medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have an Onoto University of Oxford in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Lamy Mango. We have an Onoto Charles Dickens David Copperfield in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Old Smoke. We have a Jinhao 1919 in a medium steel nib inked up with Dominant Industry Earl Grey Tea. And we have an Asvine V126 in a medium steel nib inked up with KWZ Beefeater Red. So there you have it. That's my currently ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye-bye.